All right, so we just did a segment where we went over an incel freakout video that went viral on Twitter. The next video I'm going to show you is not too dissimilar in that it is also a conservative video clip that has gone viral on Twitter, but for very different reasons. You see, my last segment, I wanted to talk about how right-wing demagogues online have basically brainwashed very sad and emotionally and frankly mentally vulnerable people into behaving in ways that are absolutely deplorable, awful, and dangerous. This segment, I want to talk more about the types of people pushing that ideology and how huge of fucking losers they are. I mean, I think that it's pretty reasonable to expect most people to believe that the types of dudes who go out in public to do some weird cringy video about how society is falling apart is like pretty cringe and weird behavior. The type of behavior that just kind of losers engage in pretty much exclusively. But you'd be surprised. Some pretty large conservative content creators have basically made that their entire, everything they do, and they have massive audiences. One of these people is this guy, who I actually don't even know the name of. I don't even know what this guy's name is. I just saw this video up on Twitter and I wanted to look at it. But it really does kind of highlight how massive of a loser you have to be to go out and do what these conservative figures do and how deranged their beliefs are. So this is a video of a conservative, I'm assuming some conservative demagogue, like TikTok figure or something. That's John from Warrior Poet Society. No idea what that is. This guy's very clearly a dumbass, though. This is him seemingly having a meltdown about what books are in his local library. So let's take a look. He's a gun tuber? Okay, that doesn't surprise me. A lot of gun tubers are very right-wing.
The social sciences sections, you have all kind of woke stuff. The young adult section, which is this whole thing, it's 4 times bigger. And then there's this weird new category called manga, which is again 4 times bigger than the world history section. Book by Greta Thunberg. Hashtag Greta Thunberg did not write this book. I looked at it. I read some of it. She didn't write it. They didn't have a longer, unabridged version of Tom Sawyer, Huck Finn. I looked for some favorite theologians and philosophers of old and didn't find most of them. Some of them were there, but none of the others. And so this is my fear.
So it's basically a video where a conservative goes into a library, walks around for a minute, talks about how it's bad that he couldn't find certain books. Now, that's putting aside the fact that books get checked out of libraries and the library is pretty much never going to have every book that it has on the shelves of the library. Like, even nowadays, when libraries probably have the lowest amount of, visitation in a very long time, I'm pretty certain there's rarely it's a Barnes and Noble. Well, okay, then it's actually a store where they sell books. They don't even get returned. Well, I guess Barnes and Noble does rent books, but this is a bookstore. They sell books here. It's a Barnes and Noble, not even a public library. This is just a place where they sell books. Yes, this truly is the state of conservative demagoguery. Guys, look, the Barnes & Noble shelf for manga is bigger than the Barnes & Noble shelf for world history. They didn't have certain books there. Who knows? Maybe they didn't have an unabridged version of Tom Sawyer or Huck Finn. Like, that is one of the most notorious books of all time. Okay, there's a good chance they sold out of that one. They very well might have sold out of, one of the most known and notorious books of all time, like a required reading book in high school and middle school, or even before that. What is this guy talking about? He's deranged. I think it's important to cover videos like this because the right has always had this sort of veneer of coolness, right? Look at it. The Pepe emote, the smug Pepe emote, literally it is the go-to format to use for right-wing memes because it basically sort of encapsulates the tone of far-right propagandists, right? Far-right propagandists tell their audiences that the left wants to take away their rights while taking away and advocating for taking away of the rights of people on the left and demographics the left cares about, while making this exact face to the camera the entire time. because they know that everybody who, like, on the left who knows they're full of shit is absolutely seething at the fact they're getting away with lying, and their audiences are falling for it and defending them. And so this imagery has always been their go-to, you know, the kind of the smug DreamWorks smile, right? Because they know they're wrong. And as the very famous, I don't agree with the quote. I don't necessarily agree with the quote entirely, but I think there's a lot of merit to the quote. And I think it really speaks to how the right does their propaganda, and it's why the left is so bad at arguing with it. Mark Twain said, "Never argue with stupid people. They'll drag you down to their level and beat you with experience." I don't agree with the never argue with stupid people aspect of it, but I do agree with the stupid people will drag you down to their level and beat you with experience argument. That is how the right wins their debates. They win their arguments, or they bring people over. They're very stupid, but they are very good at making stupidity look smart. And if you're somebody that actually knows what you're talking about, you can literally go into a debate with a conservative and have them say things so deranged, you are left speechless by their stupidity and simply can't argue against what they have to say, because what they have to say is so far from the truth, you can't even, like, operate in the universe they've built for themselves, right? It's one of the biggest reasons why the left has had such a big problem online when it comes to actually bringing people over, right? The left has always been the underdog. There was maybe a little, like, you know, stint of time from 2018 to 2020 where I'd say the left was more culturally dominant than the right online, but, like, most of the time, including right now, the right has always had this sort of default power online, right? Like, if you go into any internet community that is unpoliced, it really does feel like the sentiment there is more right-wing than left-wing, just by default, even if it's not a politically oriented space. Because spaces that do not filter or like engage in any types of self-moderation tend to attract people that want to say and do and get away with saying and doing the most horrific shit possible. Hateful shit, wrong shit, whatever, what have you, right? So the right has been fighting for a very long time to have the ability to, with no pushback socially, no pushback systemically through like TOS, no pushback in terms of like memes or the rights for anybody. Like, they literally actively try to take down and take away the platform of anybody who criticizes them. They want to destroy the ability for anyone to criticize what they do, or for there to be a systemic way to stem the harm that they spread. Who would have thought evil people who believe evil things are not willing to work within the bounds of civility? They will act like it. Anytime that the left breaks the bounds of civility, they will play the victim and act like they're the ones who are very civil and just have, you know, disagreements they just want to discuss, and, you know, they're allowed to have their disagreements, yada yada. But anytime these people actually succeed in what they want to do, everyone suffers. Everyone does. It's not even just marginalized groups that suffer. Everybody suffers when these people actually take power. It's just, you know, straight, white, heterosexual, like, racists and whatnot are very prone to supporting things that are against their best interests if they are tricked into believing some fundamentally overly emotional belief that they have, some single issue vote, for example, that they have. So racism, you know, homophobia, sexism, etc. These are things that can be weaponized in order to make people literally agree with things that demonstrably hurt them. And that is what the right does. It's why they get so mad if a lefty figure calls them out and says they're racist or a Nazi or homophobic or whatever. They get really, really mad and they call it cancel culture. If they get banned for breaking TOS, they call it censorship. If they lose friends or somebody like cuts them off because of their horrific beliefs, they'll call them triggered and say the left is intolerant. All they want is to be able to believe and spread the most harmful, horrific things they can with no pushback. They will call any form of pushback whatsoever, like anything from censorship to intolerance. They're dishonest. And they're insane. Anyway, that's pretty much all.